there's religion, like Islam, like Christianity, like the Eastern ones as well. They've been around for thousands of years for a reason. I think because they've resonated with humanity for that long. I'm sure there's been hundreds and thousands of religions that have been started within the span of humanity's existence. Yet there are ones that have resonated for thousands of years, and I think they have lessons about being a provider is something that's so embedded in men and being masculine.
Some men.
In some, yes. So I'm getting to
some
that.
Men.
Yeah, so I'm getting to that as well, where there's almost like not all women are the same, and not all men are the same. There are outliers. Like for example, you're not going to get a lot of women that are bricklayers, for example, but you might get. And you won't get a lot of men that are nurses, for example. Yeah. I know nurses. I know male nurses, but very few, right? But that's the beauty of what God's done in terms of mixing. And like, imagine all of us were the same. Life would be so boring, right? So for me and my take on femininity, and all of this has changed in such a rapid rate because since let's say the Industrial Revolution, when this inflation and like the world's changed, the whole vibe. I mean, humanity was the same for thousands of years, and now in the last 200 years, it's like changed completely. But for me, I think there are things that in like the Quran and in the Bible and all of that remind us of what brings us peace and happiness. Like we talked about providing and nurturing for women is such a fulfilling thing for our female demographic globally as well. As I said, not everyone, right? But there are just some guidelines that or things that we can be okay with expressing. It's because it's when I was probably in university, that's when I started hearing about different takes on what it means to be a man, what it means to be a woman, and I was like, wow, this is so different. And there are men wearing earrings like me now. I'm wearing earrings, and men like wearing dresses. And I was like, okay, this is really new. Let's. And then I started, once I left university, I really started digging deep into what actually. Let's see what's healthy for the mind, instead of me wearing a dress. To let me, in terms of. I'm not trying to be problematic here. But
I think the problem is that we have stabbed ourselves, like you mentioned, and it's only because we the whole thing started with the male ego, right? So we use masculinity as a way to boost ourselves and say, oh, if you're this very masculine guy, okay, cool, you're giving him credits. We also use it as a way to shame us. So if you're not masculine, then there's something wrong with you. But if you are masculine, my problem would be that I think it's all very subjective based on the person. Because some might argue that it's not masculine to cook, but I could argue that that's an essential skill to survive.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like some men will never get caught in the kitchen. But I'm like, bro, if you don't know how to cook, how are you going to survive? It has nothing to do with masculine or feminine. It's about feeding your body, sustenance, food.
Yeah.
So it's subjective as to how we framed our mind around the question, what's feminine, what's masculine. Like, it's a silly question. It's a silly question. And the longer we debate it, we're never going to get to a clear answer because it's all subjective. Because my grandma used to do this and Nana used to do this. But that person lives in America and they have a very different experience. And so it's like we're trying to answer one collective question with a bunch of collective different experiences. So for me, femininity, when I think of femininity, I see it as a higher being thing. Like I always say that a woman in her true femininity is most likely with a man who plays his provider role really well. And that doesn't mean that she's cooking. That means you could cook together in the kitchen. but it means that like there's a certain thing that a male can do to make a female feel like it's okay to be her most feminine, most nurturing, most loving
100%.
at the core of her center.
Yes.
And it's like, it's such a delicate balance because you have to find the right person who allows you to feel that way. And there will be females or women who will allow you to be masculine and fill a gap that to you means a lot, but to her it might not. So it's like, do you get what I'm saying? It's like, it's very subjective.
Yeah.
It's hard to, you're talking about black and white, but we're living in a book of colors here.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
So, and I think people spend way too much time trying to do that. Define black and white in a world of color.
Yeah.
So that's for me, it's like, bro, what is masculine to you? Sometimes I feel like it could be doing something that displays strength. Sometimes I feel like it might be masculine to be extremely vulnerable with someone who needs it in the right space and time.
Oh yeah.
You know, sometimes your mom or female has to be incredibly harsh on that kid because they need to learn that lesson then, but you're not going to see it as masculine, you're going to see it as motherly. So it's a tricky debate, man.
Yes,
but we know
it is.
It's a tricky debate.
Yeah. And what I the thought escaped me now. But it's really important to have a solid idea of what it means to you, because you can be in the space where you don't like you don't understand yourself because you've been throwing all these ideas, right? Especially in our like going to university. I don't know where you went to university or was it college? Yeah, UCT and Staley's.
Jeez. You get the
so
best.
Oh, nice.
Put it out there.
So those were those places, especially when I was there as well, we might have actually intersected. It was so volatile at one stage where like you didn't want to step out of your dorm room, especially as a man. In that, especially like when it was not Me Too, it was before Me Too, the movement. Yes. Oh my gosh, man. If you like in the lecture room, it felt like a war zone. Like you sweaty palms. I didn't go to lectures sometimes, and then you question like, okay, what is it? How do I express myself? Is this? You know? I mean, you see, I know you come from a different generation.
Yeah.
It might be a bit more black and white for you. I actually hear your comment on what's been said, because I mean, it's things have even accelerated even more since maybe you were in your youth or 20s, etc. You're still in your youth,
in terms of masculinity.
But yeah.
But I also can I just for what you're saying about that time, and also like my hustle recipes, and every single woman that's been, domestically violence. But I think that for me, and this is something like I always say, I don't have guy friends, but it's only because I have never found a male that actually wants to be my friend. Like that's why I just decide I don't want to.
Yeah,
it's not.
But when it comes to the men in my life, I always choose a man that stands with a woman, and my dad is someone like that. Like even when Nene passed away, we were in that crowd. Like, and my dad was one of the first people, he'll be like, okay, we need to do something. Like,
were you guys there that day of the march?
I think I was. Were you with me? Yeah. And I came from school and we went straight. And I think that for me, that's always something that I think of. Like, even when you're saying I didn't know what to do, like I walked out. My favorite man was a man that was, in the front and saying, this is not right. Like, we need to come right, like as a society. And I think that even that is also, for me, a very masculine thing. Like, if you can not care about what everyone else in your locker room is saying and come out there and believe in what you believe in, I think it's such an important thing.